Introduction. It's been quite comprehensive, actually. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be able to speak about artificial intelligence today in connection with e-commerce, customer-driven e-commerce. Well, you might wonder what we mean by that, customer-driven e-commerce. Assuming it's all based on the idea of putting the customer first and to address the customer during the customer journey at any point in time. That's what we have learned from the brick and mortar retailers. Customers have to be addressed at any stage. You need to meet their desires, their wishes, their expectations all the time, and you need to satisfy all of them. Now, if we manage to achieve that, the customer will have had a good shopping experience and they would like to become returning customers, getting back on you. A classical customer journey is something that we know in e-commerce. After the startup phase, there's the orientation phase, then comes the information and consultancy advice phase, and lastly the checkout phase with the after-sales phase. That's a circle. And as to how we can address the customer at each individual point, how we can provide an ideal touch point at any point in time is what I'm going to speak about today. But let's first do a comparison with brick and mortar business. A customer comes to a shop. It's relatively easy. There's a good old shop assistant who comes into play. They know their assortment, they know customer behavior, their behavioral patterns, they know how to meet customers' wishes. They give some guidance, taking them to the desired assortment or products, and at the end of the day, they help customers find their suitable product, a product suited to their needs. Whenever there's a large amount of choice, just like with this denim store, we have numerous brands and a wide selection of models from the denim range. It's interesting to provide for advice to the customer. Customers want to have advice, and this is also true for e-commerce, particularly because you want to save on returns. Good assistants know their clients, they know how they go down with their customers and what customers want just right now and what they can offer successfully. And there's one point I'd like to highlight. If you compare this to brick and mortar stores, sales assistants might ask a particular question about style, size, and other things, a color, when they want denim. And this way, you can channel the selection of desired and possible products and give people a limited choice. Now, once a customer has bought a product successfully, it is down to a good shop assistant to inspire them and maybe to add something beyond the denim, maybe a t-shirt or a polo, inspiring people to shop something else as well before they leave the store again. Here again, they use their knowledge that they've gained through experience in years, all those shopping talks and from customer observation. And ideally, a shop assistant will use any customer contact in order to improve their advice. That's very important to bear in mind if we think of e-commerce later on, incidentally. Now, if you have a good shopping experience as a customer, if your custom has been performed successfully, you might have bought denim, a pair of denims and a shirt. This will have been a positive shopping experience, and you would like to come back to a shop maybe. And from the retailer's point of view, it is now important to increase customer loyalty. How do they do that? Well, in brick and mortar, you might promise some advantages on the next purchase or point to the store and lead them back to the store for other purchases as well. Now, this considered, that is, brick and mortar stores considered, it's quite easy to understand how we can place the focus totally on the customer in the customer journey. Just like in brick and mortar, customers want to have a good shopping experience, but it's just as important to achieve that in e-commerce. The stages are all the same in online, just like in brick and mortar. You have orientation, advice, inspiration. You buy, and then you might also take home a good shop experience and remain loyal with the shop. So this is not new, really. The needs from brick and mortar retailers have to be applied in e-commerce too. But how can you achieve that? And what's so important in this context? Well, importantly, in brick and mortar, the quality of the shop assistant comes into play. Everybody will have made some experience or rather in brick and mortar retail. You might have seen good shop assistants and not so good ones where you wouldn't like to return because you've gone through a bad experience. And the same is true for e-commerce. So there too, you might have a good experience in some e-commerce shops, and in some of them you won't. One key factor here, however, is how good the shop assistant is, how well they perform their role in e-commerce, and how well this role can be performed in e-commerce. So in every individual phase of the shopping cycle, a customer needs to feel addressed, appealed to, and remain in the shop up to the point when they check out. So basically, online stores needs to provide the same benefits, advantages as in brick and mortar retail. Loyalty and a good experience, a customer focus, a focus on each and every individual customer is a task. And I think Dominic has already said it. This requires a piece of technology, a piece of artificial intelligence that calculates so much while you visit an online shop. And we actually call this the digital seller. You need a digital shop assistant, a good one for that matter, in an online shop, in order to ideally address the client while they're doing online shopping. And such a digital salesman or shop assistant can be based on artificial intelligence, no matter at which stage. When it comes to the orientation stage, for example, when you provide for a wide range of choice, and when it comes to inspiration, when it comes to advice, correct advice on individual products, or when it comes to providing for a good connection to provide loyalty after the purchase. What is needed in this context is artificial intelligence. Now, what role does AI play in this context? As I said, we need it. Well, now we need to look into artificial intelligence a bit. Everybody's speaking about this. It's getting very hyped, but is it only a hype or is it there to stay? According to Wikipedia, artificial intelligence, AI, is a collective term to describe a part of computer science, the target being to automate intelligent behavior and to provide machine learning. These are the goals of it. There are associated terms that you will have heard before: deep learning, neural networks, phase learning, reinforcement learning. I don't want to mention all of these, but there's a major distinction between weak AI and strong AI, and we are intensively dealing with weak AI. We don't want people to become machines, but those aspects that are positive in the customer experience in brick and mortar retail should be transferable or transferred to the digital world. Basically, there are two areas or two fields from AI that provide for a contribution that are networked in order to meet such a requirement. On one hand, this is semantics, semantic algorithms that are based on systems of rules, complex systems of rules. I'll give you an example in a bit. And self-learning algorithms on the other, which learn given parameters, given target parameters, so they can be optimized for a specific target parameter. Now, if you consider services in e-commerce, if you want to provide just these positive features from brick-and-mortar retail, we all know, and this is nothing new, services like searches and recommendation engines that for the most part use very complex mathematical methods from the very outset, but the higher the demands and the more customization you need, more mathematical methods have been used. They've become more complex and they are more and more based on AI. And one of the most important points is that the merging, the amalgamation of these services, it is, you basically have one shop assistant, so they've got to be merged, is more and more having the effect that we will have one-on-one communication with our customers via AI. AI is thus an enabler, as I don't have to emphasize. You will have heard about big data before, and you will have heard that computers are more and more able too. Their capacity has risen. All this is done in real time, and that is the point, really. If you want to address and appeal to each and every individual customer, you need to provide for calculations in real time. Now, we want to integrate a digital sales assistant, shop assistant, in an online shop. This is still in inverted commas, incidentally. But what do we have to do for that? A digital sales shop assistant is always an expert system that requires knowledge. That is, we need to implement expert knowledge, expert skills, and besides the product feed, and the content of the product feed, this will include as many attributes as possible so that products can be described very well and with the best possible product description, customers will find their product. And this is also a way to facilitate good calculations. You can't just calculate through item numbers, but you need to have more and more other attributes too to become more and more precise and better calculations, as you will see in an example. Expert knowledge beside the product feed, you need to have a lot of domain knowledge in order to play with relevant recommendations. You might be able to control this. The optimum recommendation in this case wouldn't be a cargo pair of trousers, but a tie. So the experience that the domain and the online business has should also be part of the expert system. Product data and expert knowledge are one thing, but a very important point is always the customer, him or herself, and the user's behavior. And the information we gain about customers must be connected with the product feed and expert knowledge. How is that achieved? Well, there are tracking codes. This way, a digital shop assistant or the services obtain a host of information about the client, the user, for example, with regard to what they're searching for, what they click on, what they're looking on, if they've changed any size or color, and what they buy. And this information about the customer is generated via tracking with a high amount of granularity. And the API that captures such data provides for data to be processed in a way that the shop assistant can make their knowledge visible. And by the way, as you can see, in most cases, it is just one line of JavaScript which is integrated in each page. So this doesn't take very much of a technical effort. So integrating a digital shop assistant is very easy for online shops. Now we've got comprehensive product data, we've got expert knowledge on board, we've learned about customers' behavior via tracking analyses, and now the key step to focus on each customer is to let the digital shop assistant learn from customer behavior and to apply such learned behavior and put it to good use to optimize itself. This is where reinforcement learning comes into play, which is a part of machine learning and the key term of machine learning. Reinforcement learning works, as you can see in this picture, in a closed loop. It's quite simple. The basic steps are action, that is, you might show something, you might display something on the online shop. Then there's the response of the customer to the displayed products, and we record which products we show and which ones are clicked on or might even have been bought. And this information will then provide for fully automated learning, and the mathematical models can develop further. It's always a bit of a competitive process. Sometimes it depends on the rules which have been set, the strategies you want to pursue. And here, just to say it by way of a picture, if you show a recommendation in the trolley for hoodies to be displayed, the digital shop assistant receives a positive response as the customer clicks. So the digital shop assistant learns that they were right. And here's another example which worked less well, but the information is still used for learning. The displayed products were not met with success. They were not relevant for the customer. And then there's no response. But even no response is information. That's important to bear in mind. And as you've gathered all this information, that is, when you display content and record how the client responds, you have a basis for further optimization and learning. And this process has to become apparent throughout the online shop, along the customer journey, in orientation, in counseling, in inspiration, and in customer loyalty, and increasing it. It's always about action, a response by the customer, and then reinforcement learning comes into play. This is just one simplified part of artificial intelligence that comes into play here, but this is quite easy to illustrate. That's why I picked it out. And in this way, a digital shop assistant can improve with each individual response or reaction on behalf of the customer and adapt themselves. So it's customer driven. Brick and mortar is, with good shop assistants, making their customers happy and giving them a good shopping experience. And in e-commerce, it's the digital shop assistant that makes them happy. Let me give you some examples. And if you look at the various parts of the customer journey, let's now stick with orientation for a moment. This is an ordinary search command, maybe even misspelt, just like in this case, where it should be Klein and not clean. And you use manual filters, product feed manual filter, and then you achieve a certain result. If you look for a small gray bag, these results might not be quite so ideal, a bit less than that, because you have big bags here too. And the customer sees, well, this is not quite so relevant and not quite what they imagined to buy. Now, when AI comes into play, you can give users higher relevance in orientation. According to their search, you can offer them small gray bags, even if the small was misspelled, as here in German. And it's not enough just to speak about a search, but there's so much AI that comes into play here, starting with the semantics on the left-hand side and the spell check, and expert knowledge comes into play too. Thesaurus, for example, and our ontology. And on the left-hand side, we've got neural networks as well, where all the collected knowledge from the clicking and buying behavior from all customers and of the individual customer is used. And all this gathered knowledge, which has been created via tracking, where a digital shop assistant has learned, is used in order to provide for smart product ranking and to create maximum relevance for the customer. The result would be these small gray bags in the right order, as they're sorted and placed in the focus of the customer and as they're demanded by the customers. All that can, in theory, be taken to even another level. For each and every customer, you can display individual results. And let me do this on the ground of the customer that's logged in. The customer that's not logged in will receive a certain search result, and the one that's logged in will be given something that matches their custom, their individual behavior that we've learned. This is calculated. And what's quite interesting here too, and advantageous, is if you've learned about the customer that they have certain preferences with regard to color, with regard to fabric, with regard to size. They always buy M sized jeans and size 8 in shoes. You can have search results only displayed that match their size.
Let us now have a look at the next phase. It's about giving advice. That means I provide options for filters, for restricting the choice of products. This is how in stationary sales activities it is done by the salesman, who is choosing specific products from the shelves and shows them to the customer. And here it is quite the same. There is a product feed, there is a specific filter, availability might be included, and if you add AI in a specific context and according to the specific questions you have asked, then the matching unit, the matching article for the user will be chosen. You can see that here. The sizes which will fit then the different preferences that the customer has are also included in the filters. Such a supporting advice will help you to reduce the return rates, because the customer is closely related to the product and gets closer to the product. Well, inspiration is very important too. It is always very difficult to say whether we are dealing with good or bad product recommendations. Some people might imagine something completely different here. That is a perspective you have to adopt yourself. But of course, you know people who have bought this or that. This is a very fragmented approach by AI. Then you could also have a look at the shopping basket filter. But at the end, it is just one model, which is the basis of calculation for all product groups. And that shows that we are not only approaching each and individual customer, but that you need more for focusing on the customer and customizing your offers. And AI is again of importance here. This skirt, for example, this shirt. The customer has a look at this shirt, and the customer has clicked on different products beforehand, equivalent to a specific behavior, and according to this behavior, product offers are being calculated for a second user who has clicked upon other products in the past, who obviously is interested in other colors, in other types of fashion. You have other products which are chosen by the program. And what you can do here is that you use information about the sizes that the customer has opted for and others, and you use this information for the filtering. But you will later on only display products which could be interesting to the customer, and at the same time they have to be available, because you do not want to deceive the customer when he wants to purchase the product then. Then one further example that works wherever the customer is logged in. That is, when calculating the product offers on site, we can at the same time calculate the number of returns, the type of returns, so that you do not show him these products again. That is also important. Let us have a look again at our example. If AI is included, then the experts know that this was included in the calculation. You might think, well, nothing has happened because the diagram looks as before, but that is not true. This is a very specific procedure. Experts know how to provide such services, and in the case with this bicycle, this has led to an increase of completed purchasing actions by 7.6%. We have carried out several A and B tests, and I think this is a very good result. And it shows that it is very important for aligning ourselves to customers' demands. We have to deploy a lot of energy here, and we have to use the domain knowledge of the online shop that we have. Well, leaving on site, we have discussed about orientation, inspiration, consulting, and in these areas now we have adapted ourselves in a targeted way to our customers' needs. And now, after this hopefully successful purchasing action, we want to stay in contact with the customer. We want to present further offers in the future. And as a standard, we do that via a newsletter. But again, the question is how to focus on the individual customer and how to use our product feed and our assessment of the newsletter, who is subscribed and who isn't. Again, with AE included, we still send the newsletter to everyone or to a well-chosen customer group. But on a technical level, once the newsletter is opened, there is a request, and the program asks for recommendations for the customer A or B or C. And everything that I have generated for the individual customer compared to other customers will help me to calculate the best possible product recommendations and to check their availability, and when it comes to fashion, to calculate the availability of the product in the respective size that the customer needs. And thus we can avoid any kind of deception. For example, that the customer likes a shirt, clicks on it, but it is not available in his size. That would be a catastrophe. So we can help with orientation, with inspiration, with recommendations, and with specific information on availability and alike. Next to the newsletter, we have other means, for example, email campaigns, specific newsletters on specific topics. And of course, it is important to calculate the interest of the users for specific topics. How can we do that? Well, artificial intelligence can be helpful here. It is calculated what to send to whom and which range of products can be offered for families and kids. You have a range of 250 articles, and you can reduce the number of offers to the 6 to 8 most successful products. These are examples for AI calculations. The golf house here, where every recipient of the newsletter gets a specific customized content. Well, it is possible that a customer has never been in the shop before and you have no data available. Then you need the average data of all the customers you have. So again, this is about customizing step by step your offers. Well, in the preceding examples, we have started with the customer, a specific customer or a targeted customer group, and now we put it the other way around. We say we have specific products, we want to bring them, to take them to the customer, and now, and this shows what is possible with AI. You have a specific product which was added to the existing product feeds, and with all the knowledge you have about the customer behavior and the clicking behavior and the expertise that we have, we know that we would like to have a fully automated process of presenting this offer to the customer 100 days before the official publication of this book, for example. And this has to match. And we have done that with our customer Ex Libris. And this has not only led to a high conversion rate, but Ex Libris, on the basis of these projects, has been awarded the Email Award 2018 3 weeks ago. This all shows what is possible with AI, how dedicatedly you can approach the individual customer, and it shows that we can enable a genuine one-to-one when integrating AI in the online commerce processes. That means for offering to our online customers a comparable service as for stationary commerce, we need a high-quality database because we really want to have a good customer relationship. We need AI for doing that because the standard services, in fact, working without AI or with the very little AI are not really in the position to align themselves to the individual customers. The prerequisite here is correspondingly to be found in all phases of the customer journey. So, as a conclusion, we want to achieve real shopping events for the customer. For focusing on that, you need AI. And not only that, I would like to present a conclusion now, but I would also like to repeat the different success criteria that I mentioned before. For me, these are the 10 most important criteria for implementing a customer-driven e-commerce. You need these criteria mentioned here. First of all, high-quality product feed. We have known that for a long time. High-quality data is important, but will become increasingly important because these new products, these augmented products are key now. In a denim shop, for example, you go there and you want to buy something very trendy for a weekend event. You might not find this attribute in normal databases, but online you should actually be able to include this term trendy or chic or whatever so that the appropriate offer can be made. So you need an updated database which should be extended compared to today's product feed with more attributes, with more personalized data. Then, of course, the use of the domain knowledge. That is, that everything you have learned on the basis of online and stationary commerce have to be included into your domain knowledge. And we have to ensure an extensive data tracking. The better our data collection works, the better we can align our activities to the individual customers. Of course, every online shop is different, and this is why it is important that those services, whatever the business segment is, whatever phase I would like to support with AI, well, these services have to be customizable. I have to be able to align them to the individual online shops and to the individual online business segments. What is also important is a matching initial setup. So in the very beginning, you have to be able to define your targets. You have to define your strategy. You have to know what you want to achieve, always keeping in mind that you want to generate income, that you want to reduce the return rate, that you want to get more customers for the future. That is important. Well, the relationship between a clear setup and customized services shows that it is difficult to find to achieve results with a plug and play solution only. You need more. Well, you need a holistic concept. We have discussed about different phases and the different components of the online shop, the consultant, the research engine, and so on and so forth. And this is why this holistic approach is very important for providing a one-stop shopping experience to the customer, and that you have really a seamless process. Self-learning, that is also very important. We have this closed loop between reaction, action, reaction, optimization. So self-learning on the basis of artificial intelligence is an easy thing to do. Nevertheless, monitoring and controlling are still important. We want to remain in charge of the process, and we want to be able to influence manually such a service. Of course, even if the system has chosen specific offers, the human being has to be able to intervene, to introduce personal ideas, to take into account specific market conditions or specific agreements with the suppliers or the customers that you have. And last but not least, we have discussed a lot about customers and customized behavior and about focusing on the customer. But now it is also important to implement all this with regard to the new Data Protection Directive. These are the 10 major criteria for success. Focusing on the customer, that is the title of my presentation, and we are one of those service providers who really adopt a holistic approach when focusing on our customers and on customer-driven e-commerce. Thank you very much for your attention, and feel free to ask any questions you have. Thank you, Thorsten, for your presentation. That is a highly interesting topic with a lot of potential and well matching with our main topics today, creativity and visions for the future. Thank you for having been here. Well, we will see how to do that with the saleswoman for customer retention that you would like to work with. And now we have again 10 minutes.